Hi, my name is Kathy and I am going to do for you a demonstration on oil painting with palette knives. It's a very basic demonstration. The color palette is very basic, as well as the subject matter and the technique. I want you to have fun, experiment with your techniques, experiment with your colors, and I want you to have fun. The general supplies that we are going to need are a palette or palette paper, your paints, palette knives, a 12 by 12 canvas, and an easel. And also, if you want to get mineral spirits, turpenoid or turpentine, something to clean your palette knives off with and your hands. And in my next video, we're going to go in detail on exactly what color paints you're going to need and the palette knives that I would like for you to have ready.
Go. Okay, so we did talk about what supplies we would need, and here we have our flower template that we are going to use. This template is pink, however we are going to do the daisy white because I want the contrast of the colors. I want the dark blue, the white daisy against the dark blue background. So we have our template, our flower. We have, you need a palette. I am going to use palette paper. It's disposable, and I like using the palette paper. And we also have our palette knives. And as you can see, I have different shapes of palette knives here. Okay, and if whatever you have, you could work with. So you don't need all of these for this particular painting. I know we spoke about it before in my introduction, but this is going to be very basic, and it's going to be simple. And there's also plastic ones out there. You could use the plastic palette knives if you'd like. If that's what you have, you could use these. We also have our paints that we're going to use. We have our titanium white, we have our cadmium yellow pale, and these paints are a little beat up, by the way, but they're my oil paints. We have phthalo blue for the background, we have Payne's gray, and we have and this is optional, burnt umber. Okay, this is going to be optional. Now I'm using Payne's gray. If you're really good and you want to mix your own colors to get your own gray, that's fine. But again, we're keeping this video basic and easy. So the first thing we're going to do is do the background on this particular canvas. Okay, and here's our 12 by 12 canvas that I already pre-treated. What I did was I mixed the Payne's gray paint with paint thinner. And I just went over the canvas because it's white and I want the blue to be a really deep blue. Okay, so I just darkened it. You don't have to. There's also black canvases you could purchase, but I just pre-treated my canvas because, again, I think I just got some white on there, but that's okay for my paints. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the background with our palette knives, and there's going to be a lot of texture. And again, there's various techniques, and there's you could mix your colors, you could do whatever you like. If you just don't want a plain blue background, you could do blue mixed with green or blue mixed with gray. So I'm going to glob my phthalo blue on there because there is a lot of, we're going to be using a lot of paint. Okay, and here's, I might as well get rid of this phthalo blue. Okay. And I also love phthalo blue because it has like a little, kind of like a glowing, it has like almost like a mirror effect to it when it dries. It's really neat. And don't forget your paper towels because this is messy. Okay, so first we're going to take our thinner palette knife, okay, because we're going to get in all these little spots here in between the flower. And also you do need to draw your flower from this template, okay? And I did this because it's dark. I did this in white pencil. And then you just kind of just sketch it. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going over this with paint. So here is our phthalo blue. I put a nice piece of paint on there, okay? And I'm going to get in all these grooves right here as best as I can. Okay, just like that. And we're just gonna go around. Now, palette knife painting is fun, so if you go a little bit in the lines, don't worry about it, because oil paints are very forgiving. I just went in the line just a little bit right there, but that's okay. When we go over that with white, you won't see it as much. And like I said, right now I'm just getting in these little grooves here. Okay. I have to stop. Go ahead. Why?
Okay. Do you...
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill in all these little grooves first, and then we're going to get our bigger brush. And I don't want all these big globs on here when I do these little areas in here. And I'm just following the best I can the outline of our flower. Okay. And just go in there and spread the paint out with this point. Get some more paint. It's a little weird when you're working with at a different angle here, but okay. And you just do each one. I'm going to turn this way. That way it'll be easier to work up here. There we go. That's much easier. And then we're just going to do this all the way around. I went in the flower a little bit with this, but that's okay. Just, you know, just try and stay in the lines the best you can. If you can't, it's okay. And then we're going to turn again, because it's much easier when you do it from the top here. This is kind of the little tedious part here. And again, this is phthalo blue. If you want to work with other colors, you can. You could do a nice dark green background, would be beautiful, or if you want to do a black background or a dark gray background, lots of different options. It's your art, it's your flower, so you do what you want. You make it the color you want, but I'm doing the dark blue here. with the white. And again, I just did that, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that at all. And when I show you the next phase, you'll understand why. And there. We're almost done with our outline here. And you know, as you can see, there's some parts of this flower that are shorter than other parts, but that's how flowers are in real life. They're not perfect. You don't want to make your flower exactly perfect. With all the leaves going perfectly the right way and the same exact size. There's shorter ones, there's broken ones. Okay, so I think we're good with outlining, and I need a lot more paint. So I'm going to take more of my phthalo blue, and I'm going to finish covering the canvas. And as you can see, blue gets everywhere. It's one of those colors that get everywhere. Okay, so I'm really done with this small knife, but I am going to get rid of some of the paint on here because we don't want to waste the paint. And then what I will do also is make sure you wipe your palette knife off. Okay, just like that. All right, so now we're going to take a bigger knife. We could either use this one or this one. I think we're going to use this one. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this. Off your palette, you're going to kind of scoop some on there, okay? Like that. You can even put a little bit more on, kind of like that, okay? And we're going to just kind of put it on there like that. You see how nice that is? See? And this is going to have a ton of texture. This painting, this palette knife painting is going to have a ton of texture. And you could, there's no rhyme or reason, just lay it on. You can go every which way. It kind of looks almost like plaster. Just make sure you cover your canvas. It takes a lot of paint. So getting back to the background color, this is phthalo blue. There's also a beautiful blue, cobalt blue, and there's also another beautiful dark blue, a Prussian blue. But we're using phthalo today. Nice and dark and deep. Such a nice, beautiful, deep blue. It's okay if some get in on the sides. Just as long as you're covering your canvas. And again, you're getting it on the knife and you're spreading it like that. Spreading it. Okay. Now some people would mix another color in with this, and that it looks beautiful when you mix two colors on a knife and then move it around like that. However, I want the star of the show to be the flower and not the background. So I'm just going to keep this background plain blue. Okay, I'm going to tip this because it's easier to work with. There we go. Okay, and make sure it's all covered. And we're almost done. See, I need more paint. Oil paints are very thick. Which is why actually I do love them, because you can get so much texture from the oil paints. Some dry spots here, so I'm just going to kind of go over them, make sure I have my canvas covered here, make sure there's no pieces of that canvas showing. Now, if for some reason later on you discover that there's a piece of your canvas showing, guess what? You could cover it again. Oils are forgiving. Okay. Okay, so now make sure you get in the effect that you want, okay, with your palette knife. I really like the way it looks everywhere else. Okay. I'm just going to kind of, there. All right, so we have our first layer of our phthalo blue. This is the first actual step is done, your background. Now, remember, this has to dry before you do your white flower, or else you will have a light blue flower, because it will run into, you know, when this paint is wet, your white is going to mix with this blue if it's not dry. So you're going to have to wait for a few days for this to dry. Actually, probably a good week, because there's a lot of paint on this. So we're done with the phthalo blue, and I'm pretty much done with this palette knife. So I'm going to wipe this clean. Okay. Pardon my blue fingers. Okay, we'll clean those later. So I'm also, since there's blue all over this palette paper, okay, which is why I like the palette paper. I could store this and use it as another time. What takes paint off hands good is Dawn dishwashing liquid, or of course paint thinner or turpenoid. All right, so we're done with this particular step. So now we're going to move on to the next step. So I'm going to put this wet piece over here, and I got blue paint, that's okay. And here is our finished one, okay? This one is dried. I'm gonna have to stop.
Go.
Okay, so we did our phthalo blue background, and this one I had previously done, and this background is completely dry. As you can see, the sheen in the phthalo blue, I love it. I love it when it dries, how it has that different effect, okay? So, but again, if you want to use a different color for your background, by any means, go ahead. So now we're going to do the flower part, and we are going to use our titanium white, and I'm going to show you what the palette paper looks like when we get the paint on it. And we're going to use a lot of titanium white. Okay, so there's the titanium white. Okay. And we're going to put some Payne's Gray on our palette. Okay. And like I said, if you want to mix your own colors to get your own gray, then you can do that too. So here's what the palette looks like, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 different shades of white. I'm going to leave it pure white. I'm going to do a white mixed in with a little bit of gray, and then I'm going to do white mixed in with a more percentage of gray. And yours doesn't have to be exact either. And I will show you my palette when I'm done. I'm just going to take some white. It's hard to do with the paper. And as you can see, I'm mixing it with some gray. Okay, you just take it and mix it. Okay, and then I'm also going to mix some with a little darker, more gray. Okay, I'm going to show you the 3 different grays that I have here. Okay, here's my palette. Okay, the pure white, the a little light gray, and a darker gray. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're first going to start out with using the medium gray. And I should have mixed a lot more than that because I'm going to need a lot more than that. So I'm going to mix some more. Okay, so I have about that much mixed. Okay, if I need more, I can always mix more. And I'm also using this palette knife, okay, because I want this effect. So take your medium gray and in fact, I think I'm going to go this way here first. And now remember, this blue is dry. And we're going to do just do the middle of the flower here. I might have made this gray a little too dark, but that's okay. We could lighten it up anytime. And right now I just want you to get it on. I just want to get it on the palette and cover your canvas. It's okay if you got a little bit on the inside. Okay, I'm going to turn this around. I don't know where this blue is coming from, but it's from something. Maybe I had it somewhere on here. Okay. Okay, you just put it on the back of your palette knife and you just kind of do this and spread it. Again, you put it on the back and spread it like this. See? So we have the beginning, the inside of the flower, okay, that we did with this palette knife and with this medium gray. Okay, so now I'm going to use a different knife, and I'm going to use the pure white. Okay, there. I'm going to clean that off. And I'm going to use, and in the meantime, I have my template right here in case, you know, in case I need reference to it. But okay, so I'm going to take my pure white, which is right there. Okay, I'm going to take that, and I'm using this rounded palette knife. You see how the tip is round? Because I want that round effect. And I'm using the pure white. And it's going to mix in with a little medium gray, but that's okay. That's the way I want it. And it's okay to go on the blue. And you could shape your petals if you want a little better here. Add some there. And there's a little bird. He's chiming in. We're outside here, so you never know. Oh, that slipped down there. That's okay. Okay, getting our white in. I want you to pay attention a little bit about how, when you're doing this, how one flower petal overlaps the other, okay? And you could reference that in your photo. And you could just get a picture of a daisy on the internet. See how that's going? And I want this one to overlap that. And I need more over here because, okay. No, I think I'm going to do it this way. I think I like it that way. Okay, there. This big old leaf here is going to, okay, there. And we're just going to go around. It's okay if you get some on the blue. I'm just going to fill that in. There we go. Lots of texture in this. Lots of texture, which is fine. Okay, I'm gonna get some more paint. I'm gonna make this a little wider, this petal. There. Same thing with this one. Okay. Okay. And more white. Putting more titanium white. Like I said, you use a lot of paint with the this kind of type of painting where you like the texture. Oh, I got a little bit on there, but that's okay. Can always go over it. Because I think I am going to overlap this. Piece right here. Okay. Like that. I'm going to add some more white up here. It's a little too gray right there, but when that dries, we can always add more. Again, defining what petals are laying over what. There. Okay. Couple more petals and we'll be done. I'm going to turn. Okay, so we're in the last phase of, we're doing the last part of this third phase. We did all the petals on this with gray, with white, and we did it with our medium gray, and then we went over it with the white, and we used this palette knife because of the roundness of it. Okay, so what I did next was I put the Payne's gray on this, and I did the middle with the Payne's gray. Now you can do the burnt umber if you would like to add a little warmness to the painting. Here's the burnt umber. It's like a brown color. It's a brownish red. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. If you want to add some warmness, instead of using the Payne's gray, you could do that in the middle of the flower. So what I did was this. I put that in the middle, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch palette knives, and I'm going to use this little one here. If you don't have a skinny one like this, you could go back and use this one, okay? I'm going to take this gray, and I'm going to kind of just go out like this to kind of just add some depth to this, to these petals, okay? We're just going to go out with this, just like that. Very easy, very lightly, okay? And then we could just kind of go up a little more with these, with the darkness here, with the gray. Try to keep in sync with your petals, okay, like we talked about. I'm just carrying this gray out a little bit because when this is dry, we're going to do another phase of this. Okay, I think this is kind of where I want it, okay? So I'm going to smush this around a little more. Okay. Can have a little bit of there. If you want, you can add a little bit more white going in there. You see how the petal, it makes it kind of look 3D. Yeah, I think I like the way that looks. Okay. Okay. And then we have to let that dry. And also, if you have any touch-ups to make, you can make them now if you want. Take your time and touch up your petals if you need be. And if you got any white on any of your background, that's fine. Just go over it with your phthalo blue. Okay? Now we're on to the last phase.
Okay, so this is our canvas with the last phase of the palette knife painting. We did this part the first phase. We did this part the second phase with the middle, the gray middle. And so now we're going to do the last phase. These are dry. I already painted these a while ago so they would be ready so I could demonstrate the last part to you. And with this, you're going to notice it's a different color than the phthalo blue. What I did was I did the phthalo blue in the back, and then I went over it with cobalt blue. There's, like I said, there's a few different dark, rich blues you could use, and you can even use brown, you could use green, you could use black, whatever color you would like for the background. And the same thing for the daisy. If you want a yellow daisy, you could do a yellow daisy. You want a pink daisy, you could do a pink. But I just love the combination of a beautiful, rich blue background with the white daisy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I have some already Payne's Gray on my palette, but I'm going to put some more titanium white, some of this pure white on my palette, because I'm just going to kind of highlight it and just kind of make it stand out a little bit more. And I'm going to use this palette knife. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of see how that white stands out. See, so I'm just going to kind of push that in there, because remember we did this with the medium gray in the beginning for our first coat, and just kind of, you could scratch it in there if you want, and just, again, I'm just going to kind of highlight this here in a couple spots. Okay, there we go. See? I'm going to add a little more over here. On this side here. And don't put a lot too much on your palette knife, because you don't want it too much globbered on. We already put it pretty heavy for the first medium gray coat. This is kind of more like just to kind of... Okay, so what I did, as you could see, I highlighted with the pure white, with the titanium white, because we originally put the medium gray on there as our base coat. And then I have the Payne's Gray here, and I'm just going to kind of bring this out here and darken that up. Okay, right in there, we're going to darken that up. And then for the yellow part, very, very easy. I put some yellow on my tip of my pointy palette knife here, okay? And you just dot it in. That's it. And work it in until you're satisfied with how it looks. Okay, and you could just kind of do clusters. I mean, when you look at the photograph, you could see some are brighter than others. And so I'm going to put some brighter clusters over here. Okay. And I could just kind of get a little bit of Payne's Gray on my tip, like this. And I'm going to kind of go over in some of these here. Because remember, the base was Payne's Gray, so that's what's kind of making this yellow pop nice. Even if you used the burnt umber there underneath, it would still look beautiful, because the burnt umber is nice and rich and brown, and it would make that yellow pop too. And you could put some shades in here with some gray. I'm just going to add some more darkness here, because I really, as you could see in the picture, to make the flower make like it looks like it's going in, you have a nice shadow there. So you could put a little more of a shadow coming out. And I'm just using the Payne's Gray right now, plain, straight Payne's Gray. And I'm just kind of dotting it in there,
giving it a nice shadow. Very little on your tip. You don't want too much because it's really dark and it's against your white and your yellow, and you want to bring it out a little bit, kind of fade it out in certain spots. You can. I'm just going to add a little more right in here. So I think it's just about done. Again, you just add little bits now when you're doing your middle. And I think I'm done with this. I'm just going to take one more little bit. I'm going to put one little rogue piece, one little couple pieces of the pollen. Okay, you could add a little more highlights if you want to embellish on your petals here. You could put some more shadows where they overlap, the petals overlap. If you'd like. Okay, and I think I'm just going to come out with this a little more here. Going to get some straight Payne's gray on there. There. There's a little shadow where this petal kind of overlaps. Okay, you could see how nice that looks there. And then you could kind of just finish up, tidy up. If you got any white on your canvas, you could just cover that up with your phthalo blue, or in this case we'll use cobalt blue. Okay, I think I like the way that looks. And again, this one overlaps, so I'm going to put a little, just a little, and I'm using the dark gray for this, by the way, shadow. Okay, where you want this leaf to stand out a little bit. See? See how it makes that one leaf pop? And then we could just kind of get some more white, and I'm going to make this petal over here kind of stand out a little bit here. All right, I think we're done. This is our daisy for today. And I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and you could practice, you could embellish more, you can add some more color, you can add some more highlights, you can add some more, you could add more white on here if you want, you can add more darkness, but I think we're good. I think we're done. I hope you enjoy this video, and I thank you for your time. And again, my name is Cathy, and take care.